Your food, you learn the art of self-control, because only through self-control then you can achieve whatever you want. But without self-control, it's like you have to stop and start everything you start in life. You have to stop and start, whether you make money or whether you start a great relationship. If you don't practice self-control, you won't have self-respect, and therefore you won't actually achieve your long-term vision. So really practice a lot of self-control. I would say that is really important for women. And the usual, obviously, charm and skills and all those things, but you live a life that you're proud of. One problem with men, that, not men, but it can be for a lot of people, is what's really unattractive is when a man lives a double life. There are so many men that in public, they might be very admirable, it might be very successful, whatever it is, but their private life is one that is shambolic, or one that they're embarrassed of, or they're ashamed of. They might be doing things privately that they're not proud of. You need to become a man that if there was a camera following you in private, you would have no, you would actually be proud of the things that you do in private. Whereas when you live a double life, the problem is you'll have to use your false self to attract a woman, and then she'll discover the real you and she'll leave.
Thing here is we're getting to know each other, and we're starting to realize, can I deal with this? Can you deal with that? Right? So it's a game. It really is a game. And if you're realizing, and you don't have to look at it in a negative sense, it's not like a negative game. It's a fun game, right? Sometimes. But the point is that if you realize that it is a game, it is a challenge, right? And you listen to what Sadia was talking about here, is if you can't build your character up, your person, if you can't build your self up, without using any analogies, if you can't build some self-confidence and work on yourself, do the self-care, do the work on not just your self-esteem, but your self-worth and things like that, and can't become a whole person, then when you go to this game that you're playing, or you go into the dating or the courtship stage, without a doubt, you're going to have this void going on inside of you because you didn't do enough work on yourself. And whether you want to acknowledge it or not, or whether the other person can see it or not, there's going to be a void there that you're looking to fill. And a lot of times in our relationships, we're not willing to do the work on ourselves to become as complete of an individual as we possibly can. Nobody's going to be perfect at this, but as strong and as well built up as we possibly can, which takes work individually, not with somebody else. Because once you get with that other person, you have to start doing the compromises that are good compromises. Hopefully she compliments you in a good way, where you're now compromising some of the bad features that you built up, because we do that, and we need somebody who compliments us, who can make us a better individual. But if you hadn't done the work on yourself, and if you hadn't been working on your self-confidence and working on, essentially your self-worth, then when you get into that relationship, you're this malleable player that, on the game, on the board, who is essentially just waiting to get used, essentially just waiting to, like, I have this void that needs to be filled because I don't like to be alone, and I'm on this date and I'm with this person, and I hope she's the person that she can be. And if she's half of that, I'm just going to make it work because I got to fill the void. We've all been there, right? And if you've ever been to that place where you're just trying to fill a void with the relationship, especially if you've never done any work on yourself, and especially if you have low self-confidence, you probably already know where this goes. It goes down to a really bad place, And so that's just one stage of thinking of working on yourself and your own self-worth being a huge component to play the game correctly. In my experience, but also if we were to approach dating and courtship, right, with more of like an objective lens, like instead of putting yourself in the position of like, what do I need to do, or what am I looking for, or how has it been for me in the past? If you were to remove all those factors and just look at it like a chessboard, or a blueprint that you're looking at and saying, okay, these are the parameters that I need to understand in order to do this with some skill, in order to do this effectively, where I don't injure myself, I don't build something that is going to fall down, and I can play this game with skill. And it is a game, sadly, in the dating and courtship stages, whether you want to use that term or not. It really is, because you have two people trying to get a desired outcome. And typically, based on how you play that interaction, how you behave with that interaction, your outcome is either going to be the way that you want it to be or the way they want it to be. And it has to be that way. if you're honest with yourself, because when you meet somebody, there's no possible way that they're exactly that person that you're talking to is exactly what you have in your head for your ideal mate. There's no way. You meet them and you're like, okay, they fill the box for quite a few of these things. And then there's these other components that I have to just internalize and see if I can make the compromise to make it work. There's no way that you meet somebody that is the exact replica of what you had in your mind before you met. There's no way. So you're in the process of compromising, but then also aligning yourself with somebody. Therefore, when you meet somebody and you're in that dating courtship mode, as you play the game, you start finding out, if I play the game correctly, right, that with this person, now I have to compromise. I can compromise less. I don't have to compromise as much because I've played the game correctly, right? And as we get to know each other, we're feeling each other out to see if this is going to be manageable. And what happens is each person is getting to know the other person, and they're going home after the date or after the time, and they're realizing, well, Rude took me to eat at this place that I didn't really like, and he, eats with his mouth open. I don't know, and so they're coming up with ideas. You're coming up with ideas that you need to know. Can I compromise? Can I deal with that? Can I deal with the fact that he always wants to have steak? Can I deal with the fact that he can't keep his mouth shut? Whatever it is. So, and we're doing the same thing. We come in from a date and we're just like, okay, she talked too much about this or that, or she's got daddy issues, or I'm really showing my cards here, but this happens all the time. And so, whatever it may be that we're dealing with on each side, we come home and we're realizing, how can we deal with this? Because this is not the ideal that I had in my head. Both people are doing the same thing. We know this, right? Because that's what the dating stage is for. You don't meet your perfect counterpart and then it's like, let's just get married and we're done, or let's just get together and we're done. You go through the dating phase to see if you can grow together. And that's the game. Okay. That you compromise less, and you're playing your part of the game the right way. You're presenting yourself the right way. You're learning, you're listening, you're becoming an effective communicator. You're maybe coming home and saying, okay, these are the things that I'd like to discuss with her when I see her again, to see if she's okay with this aspect of my life, or if she's okay with, you know, looking into doing some of these things for our future, or living in this place for our future, or this is the job I'm going to have, or this is my workflow kind of time frame and lifestyle. Can she deal with that? And she might be thinking the same thing. I don't know what you women think about. Okay, I'm just saying, I'm sure that you think about a lot of things about us, and you probably think about a lot of things that you're thinking, this guy is not doing everything right. He's got a lot of things he's doing right, but all these other things, man, if he could just be more like so and so, And with just a quick funny little thing, I was talking to a girl recently, and we were talking about Yellowstone, and she was like, yeah, I really like to be like Beth, which clearly danger zone, right? But of course, now I'm starting to get involved, now that I realize it's like red flag mode. So now I'm getting in, and I'm imagining to myself, I'm like, so you're probably looking for somebody like a Rip, right? And she's like, oh no, absolutely not. I'm looking for somebody like I don't even know the guy's name because he's forgettable. He's kind of like a little beta cuck boy. It's John Dutton's son, the one that's like a little bit of a like fairy boy. He's married to the Indian girl. Anyways, if you guys haven't watched Yellowstone, you're not going to know anything I'm talking about. But the point was, in my mind, I thought that after listening to this girl's explanation and our conversation, that she was going to want this really tough, strong dude who can take the bull by the horns and be Billy Badass, Rip. And turns out she wants the guy that's kind of like a little bitch and like, but he's kind of strong when he needs to be. But basically, he's kind of like a beta cuck. He just kind of does whatever his wife wants him to do. And, of course, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to fucking work out, because I might be a lot of things, but I can't be that guy that just sits around being told what to do. That's why I'm still single, So, but the thing